everybody, and welcome back to All About Health and Wellness, sponsored by All American Wellness. Don't forget to take advantage of your free 15-minute evaluation. We look to see if you're functioning at peak efficiency or if you've been in a car accident and are smart enough to get into the office before 2 weeks elapses so that your insurance company will take care of whatever possible injuries you've suffered. Give us a call at 561-863-8779 or make an appointment online at allamericanwellness at Comcast.com. And today we're brought to you Today we're brought to you by Podcast Junkies, Junkeez. If you want to get your message across to the masses, then you need to be in touch with Ben Castro and Christian Perillo at podcastjunkies.com. And enough of the advertising. Let's go ahead and talk about one very important thing, that I have Heather Klein with me today. Heather doesn't often show up, so when she is here, I always find it's a special podcast. Heather makes the clinic work. I'm just the doctor there. She's the administrator, and she's the manager, and between myself and my two physician's assistants, we listen to her and follow her direction. And she makes the clinic what it is today. So without further ado, Heather Klein.
Well, thank you. That was such a warm welcome. Nice way of saying I run the office of all males.
Well, I just went over the script you gave me.
And you read it so well.
I'm kidding.
So we did touch on homocysteine, and we knew we were going to get into a little bit more of it. So let's start.
The dreaded condition, homocysteine. When we have homocysteine, we have a toxic neurological chemical floating through our body because our body is not breaking down methionine. For those of you who don't have a degree in chemistry, methionine is one of the amino acids that's found in protein. And like many of the things in regard to protein being utilized properly, it has to be metabolized out of the body properly. For this, we need magnesium, we need manganese, we need B12 and folate, and some people, depending on their genetic makeup, need trimethylglycine. These nutrients that are critical for metabolizing homocysteine out of the body are simple to purchase and utilize, yet so many people don't because they haven't had it explained to them thoroughly. A lot of people know, I know I have to take antioxidants. I need to take vitamin C. I've been told I need to take selenium. I've been told I need this, I need that. I can't tell you how many people I see coming into my office that are suffering with energy problems, that are short on B12 and folate. You can't make red blood cells for energy or white blood cells for your immune system without folate. Folate is critical, and for some people whose genetic makeup doesn't absorb B12 and folate in their diet, they absolutely have to have an activated form of B12 and folate. If they don't get it, they are going to be robbed of that energy that is so necessary to carry on your daily activities. Plus, their brain won't function as normally as it possibly could. B12 and folate bring oxygen to the tissues along with iron, so that our tissues can have that valuable chemical that they need every second of the day, oxygen. As a matter of fact, talking about the brain, your brain needs equal amounts of oxygen and glucose every second of every day. Without it, your brain doesn't function normally, and your energy wanes.
So I'm going to capitalize on what you said. You said active B12. So there's such thing as an inactive B12?
Yeah, there's the kind of B12 that's laying around and you can grab it easily, and then there's the one you have to kind of
Run
run
after?
after it. No, no, no. Some people genetically they don't have the enzymes in their body because of genetic issues to absorb B12 and folate. They don't have that enzyme that helps them bring it into the cells. A lot of those patients come in and they say, "Well, I just had blood work with my doctor and he says my B12 is fine." Not necessarily. When we have blood work, the doctor is looking at what chemicals are existing in your serum, not in your cells. To get nutrients to function properly in our body, they have to go from the bloodstream or serum into the cell. And that's that enzyme that is so necessary for absorbing B12 and folate. And if you turned in last week, I was talking about B6. B6 also has a requirement to have a proper enzyme so that we absorb it. So we have a tendency when we give it to patients to always use activated forms of the B vitamins that so many people, depending on their background genetically, just can't absorb. And this is why a lot of people who have a very good diet and it's high in B vitamin, but they're just not absorbing it. They're getting what we call cyanocobalamin, which is the dietary form of B12, but they don't get hydroxy cobalamin or adenosylcobalamin or methylcobalamin. These are all activated forms and so necessary for us to bring B vitamin, B12 specifically, out of the serum and into the cell.
So people could be going about their day having all the leafy green vegetables they wanted and really not getting anything out of it. Well, besides great taste.
It's true. For those of you out there, just a little piece of information on the side. For those of you who are doing yoga, which is a great exercise, but you're finding you don't feel good after you do yoga. Well, what does yoga have in common with a lot of other exercises? Specifically, stretching exercises. Anytime a person is doing yoga or other stretching exercises, they're expecting their muscles and a very specialized tissue in the body called fascia to stretch along with the muscle. When your B12 levels are inadequate, your fascia becomes irritated and inflamed by stretching. And this is why so many people, for instance, who come into our office that are experiencing plantar fasciitis, that pain in the feet that is killing so many people, they're just dying with that pain. Why not? They have to walk everywhere, right? You want to go to the bathroom? Got to use your feet. You want to go shopping? Got to use your feet. Anywhere you go, you got to use those feet. And when you stretch that fascia, it hurts. There's a reason for that. When you have fasciitis, one of the first things that we look at when someone comes in with plantar fasciitis is, what are your B12 levels like? And I'll start asking other questions. Do you do any stretching exercises? Oh, yes, and I feel awful after it. Yeah, again, reinforcing the person's need for B12. Also, doctor, I'm noticing that I get brain fog throughout the day. Yeah, of course. You're not getting enough oxygen to your brain. It is a selfish organ. You better give it oxygen every second of the day or it's going to betray you.
So plantar fasciitis could then be reversed with the usage of B12, is what you're saying?
Oh, without a doubt, that is one of the components we utilize to fix plantar fasciitis. In the office, we do myofascial release using a special technique. We look to see that all the bones in the feet are moving properly. Many people don't realize that subluxation can occur in other areas than the spine. It can occur in any of our extremities that have joints, especially in the feet. So we make sure the biomechanics or the movement of all of the bones in the feet are normal. We make sure all of the tendons and muscles are functioning normally, and we pay close attention to the fascia and make sure it's released properly. And to reinforce that, we utilize B12 that's going to be absorbed. We also use specialized lasers that go right to work on that plantar fasciitis and help it tremendously, usually within the first visit.
You said myofascial release. What are you looking at in terms of myofascial release? A
I,
massage,
I throw around a lot of words
adjustment?
because this is the
Because
area I
it's
hang out
big.
with, and I apologize. Myo means muscle. Fascia is that specialized tissue that is intimately related with the muscle. When the muscle moves, it glides and slides over the fascia. So when someone has pain, many times if it's in the musculoskeletal arena, it is called myofascial pain. And this is what we use to help plantar fasciitis. But people can suffer myofascial pain syndromes anywhere in their body, and we address that.
That's terrible.
It is
It's great
terrible.
to address it, but terrible that these can exist throughout the entire body.
Well, when you're addressing myofascial issues, it's important to realize that many issues can create myofascial syndromes. One of the biggest ones that we see are car accidents. Patients who are involved in automobile trauma suffer ligamental injuries and myofascial syndromes because of the trauma and because their body has not had the right type of care. And that type of care requires specific treatments for these syndromes, as well as proper utilization of physiotherapies such as cold laser and proper nutrition, such as B12, to make sure the fascia is functioning normally. And there's a special, while we're on auto injuries for just a moment, let me talk about AOMSI injuries.
What's that?
AOMSI is an acronym for Alteration of Motion Segment Integrity. Let's just use the neck, for instance. You have 7 bones in your neck. When you move into flexion, as you so often do to look at your phone, and extension when you want to get the coffee cup on the top of the cabinet, or you're looking at birds, or you're appreciating how beautiful the sky is, those bones have to move in synchronous harmony. If they don't, one of the reasons could be damage to the ligaments. When the ligaments are damaged, you no longer have stability in every one of those segments that have to move harmoniously in all the positions we move in. And many times this creates an acceleration of the aging process, specifically degenerative joint disease or what's termed osteoarthritis. And when these conditions occur, they wear out that very important part of tissue between each of our bones in our spine called the discs. They're made of cartilage. And once they wear out, you don't get new ones. You have to go see the surgeon, and they have to do what they call decompression surgery, where they actually try and find something they can put in place of that disc that's all worn out. And right now, that could be a prosthetic device, or some of the other surgeons who continue to utilize this practice, they put cadaver bone in there. Cadaver is a fancy word for dead people bone. So if you don't want that type of condition occurring, then you really do need to address your biomechanical function, your alignment. Just like they tell you at Tire Kingdom, oh, you didn't get a front end alignment for a long time, you're supposed to do that. This is why you're paying for new tires that are only a few months old. Yeah, that's inconvenient, that's expensive, but it's not surgery.
Is AOMSI something that is a permanent condition? You can never get anything back to that? How would you go about treating that? How do you work
It
from the
can it
process?
can become a permanent condition. It can require a lot of medical management. It can manifest itself in frequent flare-ups and what we call exacerbations, where the person has to go to the doctor and the doctor has to figure out where their particular problem is and what may be causing it. And that may include other diagnostic testing such as MRI or digital x-ray and orthopedic and neurological and musculoskeletal workups, physical therapy or chiropractic care until the flare-up or exacerbation starts to settle down, which may take as long as 3 to 4 weeks. And that's if, in fact, that responds to that conservative care. In some cases, it doesn't and requires injective care. And that really is a complicated issue. That means going to a surgical center, being anesthetized, having a needle put into the area of your spine with anti-inflammatory medication in the hopes that that will work. And frankly, that's expensive, anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000.
Oh, nobody has that laying around.
No, they don't. And this is why when people say, oh, I got this amount of money from this attorney or that amount of money because of my car accident from this attorney, they didn't get it as a gift. They got it because they're going to need a lot of money to take care of themselves in the near future and long term. So be wise when you're involved in a car accident. You have 2 weeks to do something about it. Come see us at All American Wellness. We'll make sure you get to the right experts, both in the legal field and the medical field, that will take care of your injuries properly.
You did mention cold laser. Now, a few podcasts ago, we had some tools here. Was that the cold laser, that laser we were using?
Yes.
And what's a hot laser?
A hot laser is any laser that produces heat. Some people see class 4 laser, for instance. Class 4 laser produces heat. It's a very powerful laser. It has very good results if applied properly. There are times where a person needs class 4 and a time where a person needs class 3. And it really depends on the expert who's utilizing that tool. We've been using lasers since 1997. So we have a long bit of experience and expertise in using both class 3 and class 4 laser. It's a miraculous tool that you'll find in a lot of different physical medicine clinics.
And the difference between them, just the temperature, the reason you're using
A lot has to do with
or...
the wavelength of the light that's entering into the body, the wavelength of the light, and the power that's used to get that wavelength into the body. Some of the wavelengths do not get as easily into the cells as some of the wavelengths, such as class 3 laser. So there's more force and wattage that's needed to penetrate the body, and this is where a lot of the heat occurs, is pushing that wavelength into the body, forcing it in there.
Well, thanks, because when I think laser beam, I think Dr. Evil from Austin Powers, going to take over the world kind of thing. Exactly. So I don't think, hey, I got in a car accident, let me get some laser work done. So
yes, and it doesn't cost $1 million.
100. All right. Well, I know we touched on lasers, car accidents, and homocysteine. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up that maybe people would like to hear? Or
Sure,
know?
something very important. I want to thank you today for joining me. When I have to do these by myself, it is not nearly as pleasurable. Nothing against my producer extraordinaire, Ben, but he's busy working in the back. It's lovely to have you in the front, bringing your wonderful personality and beauty to the podcast. So thank you very much, Heather Klein.
Take a bow.
As always,
Take a
I
bow.
love having you here with me.
Well, thank you.
And out there to the audience, thank you very much for joining us at All About Health. Again, we're sponsored by All American Wellness, allamericanwellness.com. Please utilize Podcast Junkies if you want to get your message across to the masses. Ben Castro and Christian Perillo do a fantastic job. You won't be sorry you utilize them for their services. Join us next week on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. We'll be looking forward to see you on All About Health. Goodbye, everybody. Be well.
Be healthy.